as a child, I wanted to model. Going to my parents and being like, Mom, I want to model. It would have been like, no, you don't. Life in general with social media and everything, people expect it to be perfect. I think up until I entered Mrs. South Africa and realized the empowerment that comes with being in a beauty pageant, I used to just think it's, oh, look at me, I'm pretty kind of thing,
Eitaola. Welcome back to the Social with the Prince, or with Level in this instance. Welcome back to our Women's Month August edition, where we will be unpacking, or we have been, in fact, unpacking women conversations by a woman, with women, for women. And welcome again. We look forward to another engaging and impactful conversation. Today's guest is someone who is absolutely gorgeous. Another person who carries so many hats, as we've had in the past couple of weeks. And her name is Dr. Lebogang Masekela. She is a medical doctor, a nutritionist, holistic wellness coach, and also, the most important for now, her highlight in the current, she is currently a Mrs. South Africa 2023 finalist. Dr. Lebo, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming and giving us your time today. Can we just start by you telling us who you are, where you're from, where you grew up, how your childhood was, and I think we'll build up our conversation from there.
Okay, so Lebogang grew up Koseshego, Polokwane, in Limpopo, for those that don't know. I had an average childhood, to be honest. I was a young girl in the township. I went to school in a Model C school back then, Mandela, back in the 90s. So my childhood was quite okay. Grew up with a bit of where you struggle to move from the township to that, because you go to school in a with white people and all of that, and then you come home and then it's just kikashi. So, there was a bit of a struggle there, which came with its own issues. There were things like where you have body identity issues, because white kids are this small and then here you are, you're this big, those kind of things. But yeah, other than that, I think if I had to judge, I would say it was quite average. It was okay. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Were you the only child? Do you have siblings?
I've got siblings. I grew up with my younger brother. And yeah, that was a pandemic in itself. But yeah, so I grew up with him, and then I also have half siblings as well. But I was closest to my younger brother.
Okay. And getting into medicine, had you always been someone who was into the maths, the physics, all the prerequisites for a doctor? Was that always you?
So me getting into medicine was a bit of a controversy. Okay, so I was a clever child, right? So I was clever, but I was also a creative. I still am a creative, but I mean, so growing up, I was very artsy. I used to draw, design. I used to sew, those kind of things. But I guess when you're clever, then back in those days, there were only certain fields or careers that you could choose, as far as parents were concerned. So it was, my mom just sat me down one day and she was like, you know what? I know you like sewing and drawing. How about you go and do medicine, and then you can go into cosmetic surgery, blah, 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 blah. So that's how they manipulated me in that direction. And yeah, so I ended up there. But it was never my initial career option.
Okay.
It just happened that way. I wanted to do more with the interior designing, engineering, even, because I took technical drawing in school. Those kind of things. Yeah, I was more of a anywhere where there's a pen and hands.
Yeah.
I was there.
But you enjoy doing medicine and practicing now?
Yes. So I had to learn to love it because it's not the easiest. It's really not. It's very tough. But I mean, in it, I found my purpose. I did realize that I am a healer anyway, So I did medicine. And then after, instead of doing the normal uh, specializing in the certain fields that were there, or the traditional fields, so we call them, I decided to do something which was more my passion, which was then going into the nutrition field. So I diverted to nutrition. And then from nutrition, it went on to mental health, emotional wellness. And that's how I ended up doing life coaching. So it was all just, everything flowed into each other.
Before I get into the crux of, the meeting things that I want to discuss with you, in terms of Mrs. South Africa, had you always wanted to enter? Or this year, was it just, I think I want to use what I've done to propel forward in this pageant? Or how did that come about?
So the Mrs. South Africa pageant was more of a bucket list. So growing up, as a child, I wanted to model, right? But it was never something that it was never that passion that I wanted to follow, because I think I knew that it wasn't an option for me. Like I say, I was a clever child. So going to my parents and being like, Mom, I want to model, it would have been like, no, you don't, So it was never an option growing up. It was just something that was always at the back of my mind. And then, I grew up, medicine took over, and then only about 2 years ago, I think, when I was like, you know what, I'm turning 40, not so long. I need to do the things that I've always wanted to do. And that's how one of them was enter a beauty pageant. And I just thought, okay, why not go for the biggest one? I don't have time to start with Mrs. Ishiro or whatever, I have to. So I had to just go for the biggest one. And that's what I did. So yeah, that's how I ended up.
When I received your profile and I went through your social media, I know that a large part of the work that you do now, including for the pageant, includes empowering young women.
Yes.
And I've seen on your Instagram as well, you've got many talks where you go to schools and you empower young girls. And there's a lot of shift that you're trying to do in terms of what you speak about and the lives that they live.
Yeah.
From my understanding, I see there's a very big difference between the millennials and the Gen Zs. And I know that with the Gen Zs, there's a general level of wanting everything to be instant.
Yes.
They want to get things now. And we're also living in the era of being obsessed with perfection. Perfection set by the world, So in your opinion, as a medical doctor coming from the medical side, but also coming from the beauty side, I mean, the gorgeous woman that goes up, it's just there. Would you, how do you think we can find, because let's be honest, I always have an issue with, not an issue, but I find it to be very short-lived sometimes, the kind of remedies we have for young girls.
Yeah.
Even with pad drives. You give pads to girls today, it's for this month. What happens the next month? What more can we do to remedy solutions for young girls?
It's definitely one of my passions to empower young girls, right? Especially because, like you mentioned, in the beauty industry, in life in general, with social media and everything, people are expected to be perfect, right? And like you mentioned, I mean, when you take into consideration social media, where everybody only posts the best side of them, right? So no one is going to post a botched picture. No one is going to post where they're not looking their best. And that's what everyone is taking in, young girls and young boys. But, so that's what our kids tend to think that is how life is. And unfortunately, it's not. Not everything is perfect. No one is perfect in life, right? And when it comes to things like beauty pageants, I think up until I entered Mrs. South Africa and realized the empowerment that comes with being in a beauty pageant, I used to just think it's, oh, look at me, I'm pretty kind of thing, which now the world has sort of shifted to is more beauty, right? So that's why I have made it a thing for me. I've started a campaign called Session Stats. And sash being, the Mrs. South Africa, or a beauty sash, which it represents the beauty part of it. And then the steth being a stethoscope, which is the doctor's instrument, right? And the idea behind it, so it's basically beauty with brains. So the idea behind it is, you don't just have to focus on the one. It's not just about being beautiful and whatever. Use your brains as well, which is basically the message that I tell kids at school, that you don't just have to, it's not just about what you see on the outside. You need to feed your outer self. Yes, okay, wear makeup, whatever. But just because you're not wearing makeup, that doesn't mean now you are less of a person, or, you are stupid, or you don't have something to offer the world, So that's why my focus is more on, yes, there's beauty, yes, there's everything you see on the outside, but also make sure that what's going on in here also counts, right? And so that's basically what we can do when it comes to young women, is just to empower them, and show them that, listen, not everything is about the beauty part. Not everything is, the artificial things that are going to wither away. I look like this now, but I'm not going to look like this 20 years from now. And it doesn't mean that, it doesn't make me any less of Lebogang when I don't look as pretty as I do now. And that's basically the message that I want young girls to get.
I love that so much. And you mentioned mental health
Yes.
in part of your introduction. So I just wanted to ask you, what are the current patterns that we're seeing that are the leading causes to mental health issues, especially within young girls?
Social media is literally the cure and the cause to everything, right? It's a powerful instrument if you use it well, but it also can be very destructive. And that's basically what we see. Social media, reality TV shows, if a TV show is just about the good side of life, no one really watches it as much as if there's women fighting, or if there's people throwing classes and all of that, So unfortunately, those are the kind of things that our young girls are seeing, and that's what they're trying to emulate, and that's what they think makes them popular. That's why we get on social media. If someone posts a picture and they dress like this, they're going to get 5 likes. But if you post a picture and I'm wearing a bikini or whatever, and I'm showing some thigh, then you're going to get 10,000 likes, So those are the kind of ideations that our young girls are getting, that they have to behave a certain way. They have to do certain things, post certain images for them to be liked, And that's why I say social media, really, it's done wonderful things for people. And if you use it well, it really can do it. We know a lot of people whose lives, whose careers have taken off purely from social media. But then we also know that it can destruct lives as well. Yeah.
I like how you mentioned reality shows.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, the ones that are trending, we women are catty, we're scratching each other, we're fighting. Do you think that we're at a place where we have enough people to boycott? Or you think that the ones that are really want quality content are at the minority, and we just have to accept that the content being fed now, we're doomed?
It's a tough one. It really is a tough one. I think we're doomed.
I agree with you, to be honest.
I think we're doomed because, look, there is good quality content shows out there. It's not to say that there's none. They're there. But are they doing as well as they should be? No, because no one is really watching that. Like we want the instant drama. We want to tweet about it. We want to, we want to make it trend, those kind of things. So, yeah,
it's quite a tough one.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
And I suppose in that case, then we have to find ways to maybe, I guess, work collectively, and then, from individuals, from the home, from the family, to schools, to communities, to different stakeholders, the government, private companies. I think there's a lot of work that we need to do.
No, definitely. It really has to come from the top and sprinkle down. Yeah.
And with the reception that you have in schools, do you feel like your message is being sent across the way you want it to be, and are you happy?
I am happy. I'm still I only recently just started a couple of months, but I am happy because especially because after my talks, I will get a lot of girls who will come up to me and they'll be like, oh, I want to do this. Or, just recently I had this young girl who came to me. We were at a Saibono function, or it was a workshop for 300 girls, who topped something. I don't remember, but they were the top achievers in maths and science. And she actually got a lot of awards. So she's quite bright, this girl. She came to me, she's like, you know what, I've actually wanted to do modeling and all of that, but I just never thought it was possible. I just always thought that I just have to do my books and focus on my books, and maybe later on, whatnot. And I was like, you know what I want you to know is that you can literally do both, which is why I was very specific with the name of my campaign. And I called it Session Stat Beauty with Brains, because you can, as a woman, you should never feel the need to choose, which unfortunately is how we sort of get boxed into. Are you the brains or are you the beauty? It's only now that, because like even with me, when I was in varsity and all of that, starting out, when I started out as a young doctor, it was always a thing for me, because I would come to the ward rounds and whatever like this, and that's not how a typical doctor looks, so it would always be a thing where you would always get the side eye, and then this one, does she think she's on the catwalk or what's going on, So you always feel like you have to sort of limit yourself in what you want to do. You can't show all sides of you, So that's why I want them to know that you can show all sides of you, because what matters is what is on the inside. What matters is, if the outside is just the frosting on the cake, but what matters is the cake itself. Yeah.
And do you think that, because we mentioned social media probably like more than 2-3 times, I'm just wondering, do you think we can reach a stage where we can use it for the good and the bad? Because it'll always be as it is. I think the tones of social media can't change.
No. So like I said, it's one of those, if you use it, it's a good thing if you use it in a good way.
Sure.
So we just need more people coming out with that message and trying to, so that it's not just the people that are portraying those images that we don't want our kids to so there must be more people who are advocating the good side of being a woman, right? Where it's not just, show some thigh and you'll get that, you'll be liked by everyone, whatever. It must be, okay, what else do you have to offer? What do you have to say? What do you have to tell the world? What do you have to offer the world? So we need more women coming out and showing that side and getting likes for that, for just doing that, instead of doing that and some other nonsense on the side,
I actually like how you mention, how we need to, it starts from ourselves. Because I've noticed the trend as well in how I'm in my early 13s. Okay. And I think when I was maybe in my teens, a lot of our role models were Bo Kanilo, Mo Basetsana Malobo. Right now, the role models are, so no matter how many times they hear the right woman speaking, they still want to go be the Instagram girl in a bikini and no clothes on and OnlyFans, and so it's so concerning, because when you look at the young girls that are coming up, it's what are they exposed to? And I think so much more work needs to be done in that avenue, because again, it's causing layers of other problems. There's comparisons, and do you think that pageants are sort of shifting in creating a more holistic approach? How before would maybe like a Miss SA, particular size, particular this, you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't be that. Do you think adding more pageant types to the streamline has helped in terms of the diversity of beauty and
No, 100%. I mean, you would know that now with Miss South Africa, which is the biggest pageant in South Africa,
Yeah.
they have now, made it less exclusive in terms of who can enter, because it used to just be a specific this to that, this height, this, which was also another thing that perpetuated that notion that we don't want, that you have to look a specific way to be considered beautiful.
Yeah.
So now they've opened it up a little bit. They're accepting married women, they're accepting women with children. So definitely pageants can do. Actually, I feel like they are at the center of, because they were used to be about beauty, so they can actually, if they now open up and spread the narrative and say, look, it's not just about beauty, there's also this and the other. And I think now there's a show, The Journey to the Crown, or something like that, where they actually show how the women grow and they develop and what they do behind the scenes. And that's what we need to see. We need to see that it's not just about them on the stage smiling with makeup on. There's other things that they're doing. There's empowerment things that they're doing. There's self-development that is going on behind the scenes, so that you see that it's not just about the beauty. So definitely pageants, they should actually take this one and run with it, because that's what young girls, more times than not, they focus on pageants. Yeah.
And as a woman who wears so many hats, not just in your career, but as a wife, you're a mom, right?
Yes, of
course. 4 kids. That is absolutely beautiful. Wow. But a lot of work. I can only imagine. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a career woman, you're an activist, you're an ambassador. How do you balance all of that?
Time management.
Yeah.
My time management skills are quite something to be. Yeah. What can I say? I mean, I'm very strict with my time, right? Because I believe that time is, it's a commodity that is very expensive. You will never get it back.
Yeah.
So those who know, I'm very strict with my time, and that's the only way that I can manage everything that I have going on. But also, I tend to do what I love. I do what I love. I mean, being with my kids, being with my family, modeling, being a doctor, those are all things that are my passion. So even when I'm doing them, even when I feel like I just want to sleep for a week and not wake up, because I'm doing something that is feeding me and feeding my soul and making me happy, then it doesn't feel like a chore, which is also one of the, like with holistic healing and holistic wellness, what I do tend to tell my patients is you need to do what makes your heart smile. Because if you are at a job that you are there from 8 to 5 and you don't like it, and you don't like the people you're working with, that is the crux of your day. So how is that making you feel? What does that do for your mental state, for your mental health, if you are in an environment for 8 to 9 hours that you don't like? So you need to make sure that you are in a place that feeds you, that feeds your spirit. And I've had to do that a couple of times. I mean, I'm one person who does not mind resetting my life. Like, I will, if I feel like I'm not happy, I will press the stop button and reset and start over again, because I want to be in a space that is good for me and my soul.
I like how you mentioned that start over. People are so scared to start over.
Yeah.
A lot of the time you'll be stuck in a stagnant position or be unhappy, but it's because you just scared of that unknown part,
Yeah.
Also, what I want to ask you then is I think for any woman out there who's saying, I want to, because back then I think building a family was very pivotal in any woman's life. It was a duty you are called for from birth, and now we're shifting in a place where women are like yourself, making shift, change makers, breaking glass ceilings. How important is finding a supportive partner?
Extremely. Extremely important. I mean, your partner can literally make or break your dreams. It's pivotal to find. I cannot mention it enough. But also now the thing about finding a supportive partner, or a partner that's going to support your dream, is you need to know yourself first, right? You need to know who you are, what you want, because should you get into a marriage or relationship with somebody who like you're not really compatible with. And the thing is, when you get married, you grow in that time. You're growing, you're changing, so you really need to know who you are so that you don't grow and shift and just become a different person, because now this poor partner of yours is like, how? And then
Would I have
who's
that?
this person. So you want to make sure. That's why I always say, my nieces, my nephews, everyone, I always tell them, never get married before 30, please. Do not do it. Don't. I did it. I'm in my second marriage now. I actually got divorced, and I started over again. So that's another reason that, like I was saying, I pressed the reset button. Um, because I got married and I wasn't even that young. When I got married with my first husband, I was 27.
Okay.
But at the time, I wasn't really, I don't want to say true to myself, but I think I wasn't like, I didn't take it that, I didn't make it that important for me to know what I want in the future, what I want, and if you're building a future with someone, you need to know what kind of future you want, because now, if you don't know what you're building towards, how do you know when you got there, right? So I had to then be like, okay, wait, I don't think this is working. I don't think we are building towards the same thing. If eventually, once I sat down, I was like, I don't, this what I'm in now, I don't want it. I don't like the direction we are going in. And that's why I was like, okay, I set my ex-husband down, and, we've amicably went our separate ways. And I had to do a bit of introspection and find out who Lebogang is. What do I want? What do I like? And once I had all that together, then I got a partner who would support that dream, the dream that I then had, right? So and unfortunately, those are not things you can do in your 20s. Yes, there's people who in their 20s, in their early 20s, some people do know, they have a sense of self, they have a sense of direction. I want this. But when you get married in your 20s and now you're in your 30s and you've got a different view of life, it becomes, now you start feeling trapped, which is the kind of patients that I see at my clinic. And now they're depressed, and now they come there and they're suicidal, some of them. So your mental health then takes a knock because you find yourself entrapped where you are. So it's very important, know yourself first before you get into any other relationship, especially marriage, because there's no way you're gonna get someone who supports a dream that you yourself don't know.
Wow. And I know you mentioned having 4 kids.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know there's a lot of women now, young women, who you meet and they say, I cannot get banana because I don't have the time, or it's too much at my career, and for you personally in your journey, how have you been able to navigate being a mom but also be a powerhouse?
Yeah, that one has been it's been a tough balance. It's very, because mom guilt is a serious thing. Sometimes I just have to be like, oh, my kids, I'm doing this for you. I have to go. Like,
Yes.
this is for you, and it really hasn't been easy. Um, when you feel like, I feel like I'm not giving them enough, but I had to just sit myself down and be like, look, your kids are great. You're doing well. They don't need to be, and I'm a control freak, so I'm one of those, when I need to delegate and tell somebody, no, do this for the kids, I want to be there and do it myself. So that was also another point of self-development for me, where I had to learn to release my powers and be like, okay, no, I've got support systems that will take care of the kids when I am not there, especially with the Mrs. South Africa pageant, because it takes a lot of my time. I mean, even like today, let's say, where I'm here and I'm talking about the pageant and medicine and being a doctor and all that on a Sunday, which generally is like a family day,
Yeah.
So sometimes, I just had to make sure that in the morning I take them out and I'm with them the whole morning so that I can leave them. You find ways. You really, really find ways. But I always say, if you love something and you're doing something that feeds you, you'll find more reasons to do it. You'll do it. And if you don't love something, you'll find excuses. So for me, I'm doing what I love. So I just find ways to manage it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very inspiring.
Thank
And
you.
I was going to ask as well, with regards to you being a holistic wellness coach,
Mm.
what does holistic wellness entail? What do you do, and what are the facets in that?
So holistic wellness is basically saying, so I generally say I'm a holistic healer. So because I'm a medical doctor, um, people tend to think, oh, okay, I'm sick, I'm going to the doctor, right? Which is how I see my patients. At first, they come in, they've got a medical issue, there's something wrong with the body, right? So holistic wellness is basically saying, okay, a person exists in 3 states, right? So there's the body, which is what we see, the physical, or what we call the outer person. But there's also the inner person, which is basically the inside, your emotional state and your mental state, right? So there's a body, a spirit, and a mind. Those 3. So unfortunately, we tend to focus on just the body. I have a headache, I'm going to the doctor, they're going to give me grandpa or whatever, and then I'll be fine, right? But you find that headache, more times than not, 95% of the time, is caused by these 2. What's going on in the mind? What's going on in the spirit? You find that you just broke up with your boyfriend. There's no amount of Panado that's going to take care of that. You can drink all the grandpas you want, but you need to deal with the inside, the inner person, right? So as a holistic healer and a holistic health coach, what I do then is you come to me, most of the people, like I say, they come to me, they're like, oh, doctor, I'm tired. Oh, doctor, I want to lose some weight, and then we find out what's happening here, what's happening with your emotional being, what's happening with your mental health that might be contributing to what is going on with the body, right? So we look at everything instead of just giving you a grandpa, writing your script and then you're off. Then we focus and we reroute and we look at what's going on in the background, what's going on at home, what's going on at work, those kind of things that more times than not, they don't like talking about, especially men. Oh, man.
I was actually just about to say, because we had an episode recently where we spoke to holistic healer as well.
Yeah.
She was unpacking how men don't talk.
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted to ask you then is, are there ways we can get men to be more vulnerable? What will it take?
I try, I deal with that on a daily. My female patients are very easy. You literally just say one word and they unravel, they go on. The men, they're just like, yes. And and they just, yeah, no, they give one word answers. But I think sometimes so with all my sessions, I always explain to them why I want to go into this, why I'm asking you about your background, why, sometimes it's just about giving them the knowledge behind why I'm asking. I'm not just asking about your love life because I want to find out who you're married to. I'm not being nosy. I just want to know, how is it affecting your physical being, and sometimes, the first 2 sessions will be a bit more me talking, but they do open up, Shane. They do. So really the only way to make men more vulnerable is just to feed them the information. Just feed them the information. The older guys are a bit more difficult. The younger guys are.
Do you think it has it's simply to do with men and not being able to be vulnerable, or also opening up to a woman? Is the thing that
both.
counts? Okay,
I think it's
okay.
both. Yeah.
Maybe if it was a male, for example, do you think the dynamic would?
Yeah, I would like to believe the dynamic would shift a bit, because maybe the man as well would ask questions in a way that are more male orientated.
Yes.
Maybe when I ask, it's a bit more feeling. Men don't like.
They're like feeling, yeah.
They don't like feeling. So yeah, but I'll say I've had a good or a positive reaction overall. Like I say, at the beginning it will be a bit tense, but as we go on, they sort of realize, oh, okay, this thing actually. And when they can connect the dots, when the light switches on, they're like, oh, okay, all right, no, I see.
And do you think with the older generation, not the young ladies and guys, is there a pattern there about the issues that usually point out mental health issues for them? Is there a pattern that you commonly see, maybe like women that are 40 plus, where you can say the common denominator here is usually 1, 2, 3, 4?
Women or men, or in general?
In general.
I mean, I think with men, I'll start with the guys. The guys usually will come with things like high blood pressures, right? So high blood pressure, your headaches, your chest pains. I get a chest pain here and there, and those are all classical signs and symptoms of stress, right? So that's where you feel you feel like you're carrying a school bag even when you're not. You know, those are all classical signs of. So that's usually the picture, and I always when they come in and they're like, I've got a headache, and I'll be like, okay, do you also have this? Yes. Do you also have this? Yes. So I'm like, okay, so it's all a triad to this, and it's not something physical. It's psychological. So let's deal with that. And as I say, there's no amount of grandpa you can drink that's going to deal with stress, right? So if you just taking the painkillers, you're just scratching the surface. We need to go deeper. So yeah, with most men and women, those are usually with women. Actually, let me say, most of the time they tend to eat their feelings. So we tend to eat our feelings. So how they present to me would be, doctor, I've gained so much weight in the past year. I've gained so much weight. I need to lose the weight. And I'll tell them, okay, before we lose the weight, let's find out why we gained the weight in the first place. Right? Because there's no point in me putting you on a weight loss program while the cause is still there. So we first need to, if it's in the past year, what has happened in the past year? Oh, okay, no, I'm going through a divorce. And we're like, okay, so there's the problem. So we need to sort out those emotions and, whatever thoughts that are going on there, we need to sort those out. And once we've sorted those out, then we can tackle the weight. But we can't do it the other way around. Yeah.
And we're at the rate of, substance abuse, right? Right now we're seeing there's a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. Do you think a lot of it is all boils down to the amount of stress that we're currently under, or you think it's just a lifestyle choice thing in terms of the lifestyle choices?
I mean, it's not a one size fits all. There are some people that they go into it as a lifestyle choice. Oh, my friends are doing it, so I also want to do it, or there's actually, I was on an interview recently, and the talking about substance abuse as well. And the guy said, I was just curious and I tried it and I got hooked. He took one hit, he was hooked, So that there are cases like that. But the majority is literally people want to escape, people want to escape their physical being, and they just do that. They want to escape whatever that's going on around them, be it abuse, be it whatever, divorce, blah, 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 whatever that's going on at that time. Then they will take a substance and it just transport them somewhere mentally, and they'll keep doing that. So that's why it's very important for substance abuse patients that you look at the psychological, what's going on before you actually even deal with the substance itself. There's a whole lot that is going on psychologically that needs to be taken care of.
Would you then say we need more things like wellness centers, especially in Dikasi and villages? And do you think we need more of that?
No, we do. And I'm glad that actually the MEC of Health and Wellness, Gauteng, has actually been opening a couple of wellness centers around the province, because we do need that. We need wellness centers that are going to focus not only, as I've mentioned, on just I'm sick, and where there's social workers, where there's psychologists, where there's people who are actually looking at your mental health as well. Yeah.
So back to the beauty queen, the pageant.
Yeah.
So far, how's the journey been?
It's been tough. I would
sure. That's so honest.
It's been rough. It's been tough, but I mean, I love it. I enjoy it. It comes with its ups and downs, but it's just one of those things. I would do it all over again if I had to, because I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot as well in it. And I believe that I've impacted quite a lot of people, especially with the school visits and in all the orphanages, so those kind of things. So it's definitely something that it's been a good platform for me for self-development and impacting my community, really.
And then I suppose as a entrant of the competition, you have to be an advocate for something. So for you, has it always been health and mental health and keeping a person holistically in balance?
Yes, correct. So that's always been my cause. And that is just something that I wanted to spread a message about, because I believe that, especially Renadine Daki, it's not, mental wellness, with emotions, it's still things that are very new to us,
Sure.
and even when we know about it, we don't really practice it. So with my patients, what I do is I teach them daily, activities where they focus on their mind and their spirit every day, So it's not about go to work, be under stress for 3 months, and then you go on vacation every now and then. And then, there's no way that your vacation, your weekend is going to get rid of all the stress you've gone through for 3 months. You know what I mean? So you have to release the stress and all of that on a daily basis. So my message really entering the pageant was teaching people that you have to focus on your mind and your spirit daily. You have to, whether it's meditating, whether it's praying, whether it's reading a Bible, a book, whatever, listening to music, you need to do something that de-stresses you, even if it's just 30 minutes. So I introduced to them what we call press pause. So your press pause is for 30 minutes every day, whether it's in the morning, the afternoon, or at night. For 30 minutes, you just do something that you love, that relaxes you. And that's 30 minutes by yourself, right? So it can be 30 minutes with your kids. Or so with me, I now I'm at a point where I do it in the morning and at night. But and even during the day, if I'm having a busy day, I'll literally just close the office, go out, and I'll be in my car for like 30 minutes, and I'll just listen to music, and it literally just calms me down, and I come back and I'm smiling, and I take over the world again. So literally for 30 minutes, be it in the morning, as I said, the morning works well because it sort of gets you ready for the day, where you can either, I get people who will listen to whatever, R&B music, rock music, whatever you choose to do in the morning to get you ready. But the night is definitely the best part, because that's where you've gone through all your stress and now you're preparing to sleep. And I always say, I give the analogy of a plane, so I say in the morning you're lifting off. So you need to lift off. There's no plane that just goes off like this.
Right.
We lift off. So you must ease into the day. And then at night, you must land, right? And we don't crash land. We have to land, so you relax, you calm down, you're by yourself for 30 minutes. Those who meditate will meditate. And meditating doesn't mean you have to be in there, Because, with Black people, when you say meditate, they just imagine you sitting like this. No, it's not that. So meditating is just you alone with your thoughts, thinking about what you want, thinking about, oh, okay, I want to do this. This is how I'm going to do it. Just positive thoughts, right? Thinking good things, positive thoughts, what you want for your future. Keep your eye on the prize, really. And those are things that make you happy. When you think about that thing, when you think about that great house that you want to buy, or when you think about that red sports car that you want to have, it makes you smile, So those are the things you must always focus on, even when the world around you is showing you flames, even when you're catching a taxi at the time, but you're thinking about the red sports car, it will make you smile at that moment, So so we need to land the plane. And those are the things that then improve your mental health, because then you go to sleep and you actually sleep. Your mind is at rest, you're peaceful, your heart is at ease, and you sleep instead of sleeping, but your mind is still somewhere in the streets, So yeah.
And it's very hard, because I also notice with many people, it also becomes hard to embrace the current, because you're always looking forward to the next.
Correct.
So you will, even in milestones, you can't even sit down and say, wow, what a good job.
Yeah.
I finished that project, I finished that assignment, I finished that task, because you're thinking, okay, it's done. What now?
Next? Yeah, it's always about the next. It's always about the next. So that's why it's so, when you land that plane, and when I teach you what you actually do in that 30 minutes, reflecting is a very, very good tool, where you sit and you're like, oh, what happened in my day? This is what I did, da, da, da. And in there, you're like, oh, well done. Oh, I did this. Oh, this was great. You get to appreciate your day. You get to appreciate the things that happened. If you did well in something, you're like, oh, you can pat yourself in the back. If you didn't do so great, then you get to correct it and improve on it, So those are important little activities that you can do in your day that make sure that you're taking care of your mental health, of your emotional wellness along the day, every day, so that you don't just wait for weekend where you just drink it all away or eat fat cooks and, you know.
Don't get fat cooks today. One offense to the Chris is like, I just had a fat cook.
I mean, a fat cook now and then won't show you, but we don't want it every day.
Yeah. And I just also want to ask you then, in terms of self-confidence, right? And also the crux of imposter syndrome, where, you know, you also just don't, our esteem is a bit low because the height of comparison is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
You never feel like you're doing enough. Even when you have done enough, it's hard to embrace your enough because we're always comparing, you know? What are some of the tips you can give people to say, you know, in order to build your own personal esteem and confidence from home every single day? What are the small steps we can take every day just to build ourselves and believe in ourselves more?
I mean, definitely for me personally, the self-reflection that I do at night helps me quite a lot, you know, where I'm like, oh, okay, Lebogang, what happened? Oh, you did this went well, this, you know, that has definitely allowed me to embrace my journey, you know. And I feel like also being in the Mrs. South Africa pageant has been a gift and a curse in that specific field where there's comparison, you know, there's you look at social media and, you know, you see people are doing this and that and you're like, oh, am I doing enough? You know, maybe I should be out there with my I should be, you know, but you learn to, and these are some of the things that they teach, because we actually have workshops in the pageant, you know, because it's about self development as well. It's female empowerment as well. So they bring mentors that teach us about staying in your own lane, you know, like do things that you want to do. Because sometimes you look at someone and you're like, yo, maybe I should be doing that. And when you sit down, you're like, but actually, I don't even like it's not, you know, it's not even me. Go wait, tell my guy this thing if I even try. So that's just gonna stress me out even more. So it's just, as I said, you need to know yourself. You need to know what you like, because if you don't know what you like, you're gonna like everything, and you're gonna want to do everything that everyone is doing, right? So you need to know yourself. You need to know your likes and dislikes, and be content. Be happy with what you're doing, with what is going on in your life at that time. And if you don't have it yet, you can get it, right? It's not like if I don't have it today, then that's the end. I can still, there's tomorrow, there's next week, you know, God willing, you can work towards it. In this whole thing of instant gratification, it's a mess, you know? It's really killing us, where you see someone with that and I want it yesterday. You know, we have to be real.
We don't even know how they got it. We
don't know what people are doing when we're sleeping.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
You know, so you must follow your own path. Follow your own path. Stay in your own lane. Don't look left, look right, look forward. And that's the only way that you're gonna be happy with your own life.
And as a nutritionist, do you think that, is it a misconception to say eating healthy is expensive? Because we hear that all the time, and obviously eating healthy plays a big role in our overall health, as you said, mind, body, spirit.
Yes.
Diet is number one. Do you think eating healthy, the costs around it is really a myth, or you can get by with eating healthy without having to spend so much?
Eating healthy is not expensive at all. It's just that we want the quickest way to eat healthy. And so we want the veggies, but we want the veggies from Woolworths, which are 60 rand. Whereas if you go get the carrots from the farmer's market, or from, you know, it's like 10 rand a bunch. So that's the problem, because people want it quick and easy, because fast food has made things fast.
Yeah.
Right? So if I want McDonald's, I go through my driveway, I get it, 5 minutes, done. Now, if I want to eat healthy, now I must start cooking, I must start peeling, you know. So that's why people then want they want the convenient way, and the convenient way is expensive, you know. So,
to be honest, and I think we have it flipped.
So the convenient way of, if you're going to get your vegetables already cut, already peeled, it's going to cost you, you know. So that's when then they say, oh, eating healthy is expensive. No, it's because you don't want to do it yourself. That's why it's expensive. If you get the fruits, if you plant it in your backyard, even better. If you plant it, you take it, yes, you're going to spend a few hours doing it, but it will be so expensive.
Yeah.
And also, I always say, when someone says that, I always tell them, you will say eating healthy is expensive until you are admitted in a hospital and you get the bill from the hospital. Then you will see what expensive is, right? So prevention is always better than cure.
No, just checking.
Prevention is always better than cure.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And I was about to say if, but no, we're going to change it to when you win. It covers the title. What is the one way you want to be remembered? What's the impact you want to leave and say the stamp
my stamp?
Yes.
I think I just want people to, I must just be remembered as that holistic health girl. If they just say, that one's always on about holistic, because holistic living, guys, really is the crux of the matter, right? If you're not taking care of your body, your mind, and your spirit, then if you're just, I always say, we always wonder when we see someone who's fit and they collapse and they have a heart attack, and we're like, oh, but she's so, she was so fit. She came to the gym all the time. She was eating healthy. But that's because that was only one aspect, right? What's going on with the spirit? What's going on with the mind? We don't know. The inner person is more important than the outer person more times than not. Because the body is just a vessel. It's just a machine, right? If you die inside, then there's no point. So I just want people to remember me as that girl who was always about your mental health. What's going on? What's going on with your emotional wellness? What's going on with... Are you chasing your dreams? What do you think about yourself? Are you doing those things, or are you just living day to day? Because those are the kind of things that we end up in mental institutions over, right? With depression, with anxiety, with all of, because we're not actually feeding our souls. We're not actually feeding our minds and growing. We're just focusing on
That's true.
Yeah.
And how do we as people propel you forward and vote for you? Can you give us more details on that?
Yes. So you can vote for me. It's 3 rands an SMS. You just text my name and surname, Lebogang Masekela. And the number is 47587. And as I said, it's 3 rands an SMS. And unfortunately, free SMSs don't count. So you have to buy airtime and actually vote.
And your social media handles, so we can just get to follow.
So my social media handles, and I must remember. Okay, so Instagram is Dr. Lebogang Masekela. So it's Dr. Lebogang Masekela, all one word. And then there's also my work one, or my clinic one, which is at Dr. Lebogang _nutrition.wellness. And then Facebook is just Lebogang Masekela.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the floor? Ivan's trying to go home and make a sandwich of bandit. You didn't do salad. The guys want going out to salad. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a true honor having you today. We will definitely vote. We'll make sure that when we promote the episode as well, we share all your details so we can propel you forward. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. What an amazing episode. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Commenting is so important. I think Charles keeps telling me this about 5 times a day, which I am doing right now. Don't forget to comment. And as our doctor said, guys, mind, body, spirit, take care of yourselves. From me and mine to you and yours. See you next time. Eita hola.